Welcome to The Progressive Preacher, and welcome to Advent. My name is Rod Kennedy, and here we take the Bible seriously, and sometimes we take it literally when it appears that that's what the text asks us to actually do what God tells us to do within the context of the written word. Our text for today is found in the Gospel according to St. Matthew, chapter 24, verses 36 through 44. Let's read the word together. But about that day and hour no one knows, neither the angels of heaven nor the Son, but only the Father. For as the days of Noah were, so will be the coming of the Son of Man. For as in those days before the flood, they were eating and drinking, marrying and giving in marriage, until the day Noah entered the ark, and they knew nothing until the flood came and swept them all away. So too will be the coming of the Son of Man. Then two will be in the field, one will be taken and one will be left. Two women will be grinding meal together, one will be taken and one will be left. Keep awake, therefore, for you do not know on what day your Lord is coming. But understand this, if the owner of the house had known in what part of the night the thief was coming, he would have stayed awake and would not have let his house be broken into. Therefore you also must be ready, for the Son of Man is coming at an unexpected hour. This is the word of the Lord. Thanks be to God. Advent means a new world is coming. The anticipated moment of God's arrival on the earth intensifies during the 4 weeks of Advent for those liturgical churches in our midst. And these texts of Advent look forward to a new day, a new world, a new age, heaven on earth. This is good news. And as you know, we now live in a world that could use some good news. Now, there's a big difference between having hope and what some people are receiving in our country today. I call it the difference between hope and humbuggery. What a word, humbuggery. I know it sounds rather old-fashioned, but I'm telling you that it makes a lot of sense. Authentic hope gives people powerful motivations to live. Humbuggery is deceptive and false promises designed to make the humbug more powerful and richer. We have become particularly good at telling the difference between hope and humbuggery if we pay attention to the scripture. Jesus warns us, beware that no one leads you astray, for many will come in my name saying, I am the Messiah, and they will lead many astray. This is one of those points where you should just look at that text and say, I believe that. Let's take that literally. That's what it is. Do you remember P.T. Barnum? Allegedly, he said there's a sucker born every minute. Do the math. That's 525,600 suckers per year. In 10 years, that's 5,256,000 suckers. In 50 years, that's 262,800,000 suckers. The population of the U.S. today is currently around 320 million. That means there's a lot of suckers walking around loose in our midst. One of Barnum's biggest attractions was a woman named Joyce Heath, and he claimed she was the 161-year-old slave who raised George Washington. People flocked to see this 161-year-old woman. Then some reporter claimed that Heath was a humbug. We do not like people messing with our humbugs. The accusations actually made her a bigger star. And when she died in 1836, Barnum arranged one last show. 1,500 people paid 50 cents each, double the usual rate, to watch as Dr. David Rogers conducted an autopsy on her body. The doctor concluded that she was actually about 80 years old. Barnum planted a story that on good authority she was not dead at all, but she was alive and well in Connecticut. Here's the deal. Pay attention just for a minute. The story about Miss Heth was a humbug. She was not 161 years old, and neither was she a former slave of the Washington family. The story about her being an automaton was a humbug, and the story refuting her autopsy results was another layer of humbug. In other words, this story is at least 3 layers of humbug deep. Americans have never lost our fascination with humbuggery and hyperbole. In fact, we like it. Americans love humbuggery and hyperbole. And B.T. Barnum is still our patron saint. We are immersed in layers of humbuggery, politically, religiously, culturally. From the left and from the right, we are drowning in it. It's hard to tell hope from humbuggery. Our default setting is to believe whatever the people on our side of the fence tell us and not believe anything else. We all listen only to our favorite media, and we only believe the truth comes from the people that we like. Think of humbuggery as a parade of hot air balloons. Somewhere there's a factory where all the humbug balloons are filled with hot air. Then they become a parade drawing crowds like it was Macy's Thanksgiving Day parade. And the media covers the humbuggery as if it were real and true. And everyone makes a profit, and all is well in the land of humbuggery. Obviously, I'm being a bit sarcastic and satirical because I want to give you hope, not humbuggery. And my hope is built on Jesus Christ, the only foundation that the church needs. My hope is built on what Paul calls the sure and certain hope of resurrection, not humbuggery. Advent, I believe, comes every year to help us gain some ground that we have lost. Recover some imagination, creativity, and get in touch with the goodness of life once again. Advent turns our eyes upward to the stars so that we don't lose sight of God, having already saved the world from evil by sending Jesus to be with us. In other words, you can say that Advent pops the hot air balloons of humbuggery. It means not paying so much attention to this world, not getting sucked into fantasies, not imbibing the lies, not embracing skepticism, not falling into the pit of conspiracy theories, not falling for every Tom, Dick, and Paula that pops up on television. Jesus says that his coming will be like the days of Noah. They were just ordinary days, everyday days, normal days, days like ours. What were people doing? Eating and drinking. That's what we do. We go to work and we start thinking about what we're going to have to lunch. And after lunch, we start thinking about what we're going to have for dinner. People working and making money. Nothing wrong with it. It's a part of ordinary life. People fighting and feuding. If we made a list of all we have experienced, all we've done, said, thought, dreamed, or imagined, we would realize why we're all exhausted, why we're tired, why we need a break. When I was a 17-year-old kid, I could actually eat 6 Coney chili cheese dogs and swallow them with a 6-pack of Coke. And I weighed 135 pounds. At 76, I take a pill for arthritis and 3 pills for high blood pressure. Because life moves along, and we keep going faster and faster. I've been left by the side of the road, left high and dry, flooded, blown away, dried up, rode hard and put up wet, knocked down, been up on high, been down in hell, tasted heaven more than once. I've been knocked around and told 1,000 lies. I've been tempted to give skepticism the reins of my life. I have ridden dark waves of deep, devastating doubt swirling over me. I've been somebody and nobody. I've dreamed success and tasted failure. I've won some, lost some, tied some. I hate ties, by the way. I had my hair straightened with an iron, curled, and had more than one permanent. I've had a flat top, a crew cut, and an afro. I've thought the thoughts of great men and women after them, and I have thought the lowest thoughts of the lowest scum on earth, probably. I have friends everywhere. everywhere, some of them in low places. I've been to therapy. I've been single, married, divorced, married again, children, grandchildren. I've laughed until I cried and cried until I was exhausted. Life, brothers and sisters, full of unexpected twists and turns. I've looked in the mouth of the beast, visited the abyss, and fought with the devil. I've been tempted to give up every semblance of faith and become an atheist, but it just doesn't fit me. And even thinking of living life with gritted teeth and nothing to go on but steel-faced determination left me bored and dry. I don't like atheism. I don't think it works. After all these years, after all these experiences, I can clearly say with conviction, I am still a man of faith, a man of the church, still one of Jesus's guys. Life is good, and just like it was in the days of Noah, it's ongoing. I have a confession I need to make. The Sunday school version of Noah has never much appealed to me. As a child, the story scared me. My mind couldn't wrap around God ordering the destruction of all of humanity and saving only 8 people. It made me nervous because I was pretty sure that my family would not have been in the boat with the 8. Now, I had a large extended family. My mother had 5 brothers and sisters. My daddy had 11 brothers and sisters, and I have 57 first cousins. That's right, 57. I couldn't imagine how to select only 8 of the people I love to be on the boat. We were a working class family. 5 members of that family had served more than 125 years in the U.S. military. My dad and 2 of his brothers worked at a chemical plant. There were a lot of church and baseball going on. This was not The Godfather. This was not Yellowstone. This was ordinary American life. The only whiff of a scandal came when one of my aunts married a Sioux Indian chief from Oklahoma, and my family embraced him and loved him. My dad explained to everyone that she was family and that we loved family and we cared for family. And she was so smart. She was a registered nurse, an Army officer in the U.S. Army. And when she retired, a professor at the School of Nursing at the University of Louisiana, Monroe. How can we leave anyone out? That's the part about the story that always upset me. I'm not making light of the story. I'm not even telling you whether I think it's true or not. I'm just telling you that when you start thinking about who gets left out, you just really don't want to think about it. George Washington, William Sloane Coffin Jr. once said in a 4th of July sermon about George Washington skipping a silver dollar across the Rappahannock River in Virginia, suppose modern scholarship should one day discover that the dollar had splashed halfway across the river. Would that mean George was no longer father of his country? Of course not. The story is an expression of faith, not a basis for faith. The story is a story that is a part of the American mythology. It's a great story. It's just like believing that George cut down the cherry tree and could not tell a lie. So when Jesus brings up Noah, he's not really giving you a history lesson. If the flood of Noah never happened, it would not mean that Noah was not a hero of our faith. He's telling us that life goes on every day, goes on happening just like it did for the people in Noah's day, and that you need to be aware of the presence of God. It is the presence of God that makes the difference here. This is about God. It's not about us. I remind myself every day because I don't think we do it often enough. God is God, and we are not. Think it. Say it. God is God, and we are not. If there's a flood coming, for God's sake, build a boat. If there's danger ahead, prepare. If there's a threat against what makes your life worth living, stand up against it and don't be a coward. Have you ever seen the movie The Resistance Banker? It tells the story of an Amsterdam family who had a banker named Walraven Van Hall, Wally, who creates an underground bank to finance the resistance against the Nazis. Wally is captured and executed, but the money from the bank helps turn the tide of the war. Jesus wants us to be the resistance Christians. Resist this world and resist its ability to flood our lives with meaninglessness and lies and humbuggery. Jesus says that one day there are 2 people working in the field and one is taken and one is left. And 2 women are baking and one is taken and one is left. It's another ordinary life story. Now, the people who love the rapture will tell you that this is a story about the coming of the rapture. We don't have time for all of that today, but let me tell you that what Jesus was talking about was that you could be in the field working and you look up and here comes a band of marauders, robbers and thieves, and they swoop down on your village, grabbing up everything they can. And some women who are in the field are kidnapped and captured and taken away and sold into slavery, and others manage to escape by the skin of their teeth and get back inside the walls of the village. Jesus is saying it's just ordinary life. And ordinary life sometimes has robbers and thieves and people who are not telling you the truth. When the pull of long and difficult year saps our strength and our faith falters and our knees buckle and our spirits depress and our zeal reduces to zero and our desire dries up, in that moment, Advent shows up in the nick of time. It makes the ordinary into the extraordinary so that the ordinary becomes sacred. You don't have to be a maker of miracles. Just take care of your neighbors. I have no problem with people who peddle certain beliefs as the only truth. They can pile them up to the steeples, put them in huge barns for safekeeping. But I want ultimately to see justice and mercy and compassion and practices. I want to see faith in Jesus with arms and legs. My Anabaptist fellow Louisianan theologian James McClendon argues the truth of faith is made good in the living of it, or not at all. The truth of faith is made good in the living of it. Advent puts us back on the right track. People practicing Christianity, not bragging about it, not talking about it, not making lists and checking them twice. Advent puts a bow on God's creation and reminds us that this is God's one big, huge gift to us. One of my favorite Christmas ads is a BMW ad. An older man steps out of his son's house at Christmas and sees a new BMW X6 SUV with a giant red bow on it. Now, in the opening scene, the young man was putting a big bow on the front of his house, and the wind blew, and one of the bows landed on top of the BMW just as the father emerges from the house. He thinks, my boy gave me a BMW for Christmas. The next image is the father driving down the street with a huge grin on his face. His son, sitting in the passenger seat, is dumbstruck. And the father says, I can't wait to see what you got your mother. I just absolutely think that's Advent. Advent is when we can't wait to see what God has in store for us because we finally stop paying attention to all the humbuggery in our lives. So I want you to say it with me. I can't wait to see what God will give us this year. Amen.